company in the black for the first time since 2014. Arguably, you have base effects and pent-up demand at work here. But is this momentum sustainable in a longer-term outlook? And what kind of sales and profit growth are you projecting for 2021?
Sure. Well, we had outsized growth in 2020 and we turned profitable. So it's great for us. It was a great year for us at Razer. But what we do see is sustained activity in terms of gaming, even with some of the markets opening up. So we remain optimistic and hopeful for 2021. And one thing that we are saying is that we do see continued outsized growth moving forward for us and, of course, continued profitability.
And margins improved for your hardware business. Premiumization, that's the way to go.
Well, absolutely. So I think for 2020, we managed to break the $1 billion kind of threshold for revenues. Profits were up. And I think in particular, even the margins were up. So I think for 2021, we do expect to see us improving our hardware margins, our services margins also continuing to improve. So over and above, I do think that all of this growth will continue.
Would you expand beyond the gamers space, perhaps try to go up against the likes of Logitech?
Well, the thing that we've always been at Razer is for gamers by gamers, 100% focused on that. But the demographic has really changed. I think what the pandemic has brought together is a whole lot of new gamers into the demographic, hyper-casual gamers, casual gamers. And I think the world has really changed in the sense that the word gamer now encompasses billions and billions of people. So we remain very focused, I think, in terms of gamers. But, the products that we have are doing really well, like our gaming chairs at this point of time for work from home. We've got our webcams, the Kio Pro, which has been called the best webcam in the world. So, things like that, I think, transcend not just gaming, but for people who are working from home and who really need the new digital products in their lives.
And given that consumer base that you have, software, services, this is the fastest growing part of your business. So what kind of contribution will that provide to the business going forward?
Well, when we went public, we talked about our whole ecosystem, and this was a couple of years ago. And I think in 2017, our services business was only about $10 million. But in the past 3 years alone, it's gone up 12 times. It's over $120 million in terms of revenues, much higher margins than the hardware business that we've got. The way that we see it is that it's going to continue to contribute. It's already a bigger contributor to our gross profits at this point of time, and it will continue to grow. And I think it's really fleshing out this entire ecosystem that we've built for the gamers out there. So, there are 2 billion, 3 billion gamers out there. We've built this entire ecosystem, and services will continue to be one of the big things that we focus on.
And speaking of building out the Razer ecosystem, cash flow turned positive. You're sitting on a healthy cash pile with no debt. Is this time to go shopping?
Well, I think in terms of the use of cash, I think we've over $600 million in cash. We've got no debt, as you've mentioned. Well, a couple of things. Well, definitely M&A is something that we're looking at. We've started with some M&A at this point of time. We've been looking at console companies, services, definitely. So as I've mentioned, in terms of our fintech business, it's over $120 million and growing. And this is one of the areas that we see high margins. And we want to be able to go shopping for more startups or businesses that would be accretive to us. And of course, the use of cash would extend to other things like share buybacks and much more.
Now, we've seen this trend of a global chip shortage having spillover effects across different sectors. Is this impacting Razer supply chain? And when it comes to chips, are you going to stick with Intel, or perhaps are there plans to shift towards using AMD, for example, in your laptops in the future?
So I think in terms of shortages, it's been a huge issue, I think, globally. And it's not just in terms of the component side of things, but everything that we do, even for products that we have at this point of time, because of the demand that has come through. If you look at, I think for our webcams, our gaming chairs, our broadcasting equipment, typically, there's a waiting list at this point of time, primarily driven by, this whole work from home and a gaming, stay at home kind of environment. Now, over and above, I think we are still managing that well. We expect to be able to manage our supply chain well to meet the demand. I think there might be some waiting times, but we're cautiously optimistic that we will be able to kind of match up with what's out there at this point of time.
As expected, Min-Liang, during COVID times, we saw an increase in payment volumes, but competition is fierce out there for transactions. What's the strategy to gain more market share?
Well, we are already one of the largest, I think, fintechs in the region of the emerging markets. Game payments is something we're hyper-focused on at this point of time. Razer Gold is now one of the biggest payment methods for games at this juncture. We've got over 34,000 different games that we've integrated with and doing really well. Now, Razer Fintech, which is the other arm of our services arm, we processed over $4 billion of digital payments last year, and we do see sustained activity. Online activity, because we process for many of the e-commerce merchants out there, and it does seem to do well. And so for us, I think we still remain hyper-focused on making sure that the merchants that we have, we've got about over 50,000 of them, are well served. And of course, adding on new services that we could potentially invest or acquire and add on to the stable of the services that we have.
Let's talk about your ambitions to set up a digital bank. It's a no-go for Singapore in terms of securing that license. Is Malaysia, the Philippines on your radar?
Well, I think in essence, our core focus has always been on the youth, the millennial, and on the fintech side of things. Digital payments and enabling our partners has always been key. Now, from a digital bank perspective, we've always been more opportunistic from that perspective. We know we're able to do it from the tech stack perspective. We've got the brand that allows us to reach out to many of the gamers out there. And I think the move towards virtual banking for many of the jurisdictions out there is good. We continue to explore, but fundamentally, at the end of the day, we just look at driving our services business as a whole on a B2B side and a B2C side. And if it comes through, we'll definitely evaluate that.
Now, back in 2018, Razer coming up with Soft Miner. In the cryptoverse, is there a plan to get back into that space?
Well, we have a community that is very passionate about new technologies. We're one of the biggest youth and millennial brands in the world. And, I constantly get pinged on Twitter, are you guys looking at NFTs? Are you guys looking at crypto? And I think coupled with the fact that we also do a huge amount of digital processing in terms of payments, it sounds like a natural, kind of a thing for us. But, new technology like that, we are very focused in terms of looking at the blockchain and crypto, but we're still in the evaluation phase at this point of time.
And we're still waiting with bated breath for updates on the toaster. What's popping there?
Well, it's the oddest thing. We've got a community that is very passionate about everything that we do. They tattooed toasters on themselves. And I think, the whole community that we've brought together, we get them very focused on potential new categories like home appliances. I know we will do very well there if we ever get to do a toaster, but we also galvanize them in other areas like sustainability. That's one of the things that we've been talking to the team, talking to the community, and trying to get everyone together. So I think this was one of the questions that came up during my earnings call yesterday, whether we're going to come up with a toaster sometime soon. And I will say, it will be ready when it's ready.
And with the focus on ESG and pushing a sustainability mission, one of the areas of focus is green investments. Are there any specific areas that you're looking into? What kind of funding would you look to allocate?
So, as I've mentioned, our user base is very passionate about the environment, sustainability. And ourselves, from even a couple of years back, way before any talk of ESG had come through, we have been making sure our packaging is FSC certified, it's smaller, it's fully sustainable, recyclable. And today, I think we've just, formally announced our perspectives for our initiative Go Green with Razer, where we look at everything internally within the organization to be carbon neutral by 2030, to green products that we're looking to make sure that everything's using recycled material or recyclables, and all the way, as you've mentioned, in terms of green investments. Now, this is something that we're going to be using our cash pile. We've got over $600 million, and we're allocating part of it to focus just in terms of sustainable startups or environmentally friendly companies, where we look at everything from water solutions, carbon reduction, plastics management, and much more. So, and renewable energy, of course. So all of this, I think, is definitely part of our long-term plans. So we've announced a 10-year plan for ourselves here at Razer. We've put it up on our website, and it's definitely one of the things that we want to continue leading in.